Hello, and welcome back to Diecast Graveyard. My name is Paul. Thanks for joining me today. We've got a really cool custom we're going to do today. We're going to take this Hot Wheels Bone Shaker and we're going to turn it in to a Back to the Future DeLorean style Bone Shaker. This is also going to be an incredible amount of fun. Now, the music today is being played by Hap Hathaway, and there'll be a link to his YouTube page in the description. So please check out his YouTube page. He plays some incredible music. So we're going to take this car apart. We're going to give it some gull wing doors. We're going to add some accoutrements. There's a word for you. To make this Bone Shaker a Back to the Future Bone Shaker. So go ahead, grab your favorite adult beverage and join in today as we do this custom. Let's get started.
It's time to start the autopsy.
Here I've taken the Bone Shaker and I've drawn some lines where I want to cut with the jeweler's saw. Now the section in the center is the area I'm going to put the hinges for the doors. Just like the DeLorean, I'm going to try and at least attempt to make these doors on the Bone Shaker open up like gull wing doors. It looks like the Back to the Future time machine portion will also fit into the back of this thing. We're definitely going to have to trim it down and cut it up a little bit to get it to fit. I've also got some ideas I want to use for the front of the car too, to replace the skull in the very front of the car. As we take the car apart here, it's being a little bit difficult, so I'm going to take this automatic center punch and I'm going to have it help assist me to get this car apart. That works really good. And there's today's tip from your Uncle Paulie. I've taken the Future Machine parts off the other car, and I'm going to have to remove this post off the bottom of it. That shouldn't be too hard, but that looks like it's going to fit pretty good. I've always wanted to do this car for some reason. That'll fit really cool. We'll get that post taken off there. Here's the interior. We'll have to also take off that fuel tank on the back. This is definitely trial by fire here, as we got a lot of stuff that we're going to have to cut off the car in order to get parts to fit. We'll use the jeweler saw to cut your doors. Just take your time when you're doing this. Now, if you happen to get a jeweler saw, plan on breaking some blades because it's going to be a little bit of hard work.
Meanwhile, back in the graveyard.
As I use the jeweler saw to cut the doors, once I get past a certain point, the thickness of the metal, then I'm going to disassemble the blade off the jeweler saw, feed it through where the doors have already been cut, and continue on with my cutting. This can turn out really good. You just have to take your time. Fortunately, I'm staying within the lines pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with that so far. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on that like button too. If you're getting anything out of these videos, please mash that like button and hit that subscribe button. Let's go ahead and cut the other side. Now when you're picking out where to cut these areas, especially around the doors and like that, you want to make sure you check underneath the underside of the car, because there may be some areas of the metal that is a little bit thicker than others, and if you moved it back just slightly, you could have avoided all that area that you had to cut through with that thick metal. Yep, there's one more broken blade. You've got to take your time with those. Now that we got the doors all cut out, there we go, that'll fit nice. We'll figure out the hinge system here. But first off, we're going to go ahead and put it in the citrus strip and get ready to get rid of all that paint. Make sure you cover all the areas with the citrus strip, because you want to make sure that there's no yellow paint on there, since basically this car is silver, and we're going to paint it silver also. We're not going to buff it out to make it look like chrome. But you want to make sure that all that paint is removed so the yellow doesn't show up when you open up the doors, etc. That's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and move on. Now that we got all the paint removed, we're going to work on the door hinge system. I've seen some other videos from fellows over in Malaysia and like that to do the real high detail cars, and I see how they use a hinge to open up the trunk and open up the hood, etc. like that, and doors. So I decided to try and incorporate that myself. Now when I did cut with the saw, I did cut the gaps on the doors a little bit wider than I should have. But if I go to do this car again or anything like it, I'll definitely make sure that I take my time when I'm using that jeweler saw. I took some paper clips and I made a shape like you see here. Make sure you put the right door in the right area. And then we'll set that in there. You'll get a rough idea here what I'm trying to accomplish. There you go. I'm going to use a plastic tab in between the two doors to hold the paper clip hinges in place. This is all an experiment here when you go to do this. I mean, there's definitely different ways to do this, and my way is different than somebody else's. Try your luck at it. Try doing a hood or a trunk or a door or something like that, just to get the experience, so when you go to do something that you really want to do, you'll have that knowledge. That's looking pretty good. I super glued the paper clip hinges to the doors. Now I'm going to use a plastic tab, like I said, to cross over those two hinges in the middle and attach it to the roof, the underside roof of the car, to hold those hinges in place. There. Not too bad. I'm pretty happy with that. That looks pretty good. I would probably do it a little bit different if I was going to do this one again, but for what I've accomplished here, I'm pretty happy with it. Let's move on. I dry fitted all the pieces together. As you can see, the gull wing doors are definitely working well. Let's continue.
Someone is being exhumed.
Now we're test fitting some more parts here. I took the back end off the original DeLorean and I cut it a little bit shorter and glued it together to fit. We got the time machine pieces in place. That looks pretty good. And we'll definitely glue that in place later on. Let's move on. All right, now we're going to take care of that skull in the front. We'll sand that down nice and flat. Keep checking it every so often. You definitely don't want to sand too much because it's awful hard to put it back when it's in granular pieces. Almost there. I keep thinking a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. There we go. We'll clean that up. But here's my idea. I got a 3D printed face of Dr. Emmett Brown. This is what I'm using in place of the skull in the front of the Bone Shaker. That's going to look pretty awesome. Let's put everything together and give my creation life.
Life! Life, do you hear me? Give my creation life!
And here's what we started with. A Hot Wheels Bone Shaker. I've always had this vision that I wanted to try and make a Back to the Future car with this. So we took it apart. I drew out the lines for the doors that I wanted to cut out. I came up with a hinge system for the doors. Put that in place. And again, unless you try something like this, you're not going to learn how to do these things. But as I always say to you folks, you can do this too. Test your abilities. The worst that can happen is you mess up a 99-cent car. Well, nowadays it's a $1.25 car. But if you've got some old ones you picked up at a yard sale or something like that, try your luck at some of these things. You'd be surprised and surprise yourself what you can do with these things. But we took it all apart. We painted it up. We used the parts from a DeLorean to make a beautiful Back to the Future Bone Shaker. And this is what we got to. Look how cool this thing looks. I am so happy and pleased with the way this turned out. And again, that Dr. Emmett Brown face in the front in place of the skull, that turned out excellent. But this was a lot of fun. Now again, if you're getting anything out of these videos, go ahead and mash that like button and hit that subscribe button. This was an incredible amount of fun, and I truly enjoyed it. But if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. Now here's another picture of the car with the gull wing doors open. And again, man, I am so happy with this. This turned out really, really cool. So try this yourself. And if you happen to do something really cool, send me a picture of it, and I'll put it in one of my videos at the end, giving you full credit for the wonderful creations that you come up with. But I'd love to see some of the work you guys do. Watch my videos, look at the how-to videos, and again, if you have any questions whatsoever, get back a hold of me, because I read every single comment. I might not get back to everybody, but I try my best to answer the questions where you have a problem with something or you're trying to figure out something. I want to thank you for joining me today in Diecast Graveyard. I had an incredible amount of fun doing this custom for you, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Don't forget to check out Hap Hathaway's YouTube page. Thank you, and cheers.